All right, everyone, welcome. This is ESL One Hamburg 2017. This is the CIS Closed Qualifiers, Team Effect versus Spartak Esports. I'm your caster, Moxie. I'm joined with the wonderful Forged Dota today as my co-caster, and this is looking like we're going to have some great Dota today. I'm really excited.
This is going to be a great series between these two teams. Really looking forward to seeing what kind of drafts we're going to come out and where they're going to aim to go. Whether we're going to see, some of the more split pushy things or that classic CIS run Dota.
10 seconds remaining.
Now it looks like I have an error on my screen because I can't see anything on the side of the dire. So guys, I'm going to actually reconnect to the game here. So give me 1 second, Forge. Why don't you keep telling us about what's going on here with the draft?
Yeah, so looks like we've got some pretty typical bans coming out right now. We've got Nature's Prophet getting banned out on the side of Effect, as well as on the other side, we've got Night Stalker and Venomancer getting banned out. A lot of really pesky, annoying heroes in the meta right now. Venomancer, of course, some calling it OP, just impossible to lane against, really flexible pick as well, can be played just about any position except really the hard 5. Night Stalker, really effective roamer in the early game, and just denying that vision against your enemy, always really good. On the flip side, the Nature's Prophet and the Enchantress ban actually going to come out from Effect, and
Radiant team banned.
Necrophos.
Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
yeah, I mean, that'll round out the girl screen dudes for sure. But I really like what Spartak have done here. They grab the Ancient Apparition first so that they can secure their Necrophos pick, because of course an Ancient Apparition ulti denies the regen, so now you don't have to worry about denying it, as well as it's just a pretty solid hero combining. You get the Ice Vortex, amplifying the Reaper's Scythe and the Death Pulse damage from the Necro. Really nice combo, as well as securing that they don't get countered out by the Ancient Apparition.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to hit with the Nerf hammer pretty hard, but in the meantime, he's definitely been a nuisance both in the pro and the pub scene.
Dire team pick.
Skywrath Mage.
Mm-hmm.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
It's definitely a really good hero, but it's also become a lot more prevalent with the rise of Necrophos. You'll see heroes like Skywrath come up on the rise of that, because a lot of Necro's survivability comes from his Ghost Shroud, turning ethereal, can't take any physical damage, but Skywrath doesn't care. To him, that's just bonus damage. You drop an ulti on top of a Necro, you get the concussive shot, he's a lot slower. So, and the silence as well being really effective. No Reapers, no Death Pulse, a lot harder to sustain that damage and those heals in these longer team fights. So Skywrath, actually a pretty good pick against the Necrophos as well. It's certainly possible. It would definitely be good against the Skywrath, but it is it's a little bit worse, I would say, against the Void, because unless you have the guaranteed lockdown immediate follow-up from the Necrophos, then he's just going to time walk off a lot of the damage that you'd get from the vendetta hit or from the stun, he's just going to time walk away. So unless you have the guaranteed follow-up, it's going to be a little bit tougher against the Void, and we don't yet know if this is going to be an off lane or a safe lane Void, so you don't want to dedicate.
Dire team pick. Mirana.
Yeah, another one of the big picks that's coming out of the meta right now is that mid Mirana. Less so that magic damage burst that we saw, popularized earlier in the year. It's much more focused on the physical damage and the scaling, Manta Diffusal, S and Y, even sometimes just an early Maelstrom with bots, farm up really fast, really effectively. So pretty solid pickup from Effect, and I'm liking the way their draft is shaping up. They have a lot of independent pickoff, as well as some really nice wombo combo, like you mentioned with their Shaker, the Void, Skywrath dropping stuff on top. They have a lot of really varied opportunities for kill potential.
Radiant team ban.
Yeah, that's your nice safe building hitter. It is a little curious seeing it picked up into the Shaker, which some would consider the counter. But if he is able to survive through the Echo Slam and through the chain stuns, then obviously Sunder leads to a lot of ability for counterplay. And with the run buff coming out, that does make it a little bit more viable for him to survive through that initial burst. Yeah, the whoever's in that off lane, whether it be the Void, the Shaker, or some other pick, if they're leaving that for last, definitely going to have a tough time. Kunkka plus Ancient Apparition, really dangerous, Terrorblade damage on top, and even just the roaming potential. Anytime those two supports are off the map, you don't know if they're making stacks, if they're roaming on you, or if they're just playing mind games and just sitting behind and sapping XP. Very powerful support duo.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team pick. Ten seconds remaining.
Yeah, they don't really have a great way to deal with it. It's pretty much just like Necrophos Death Pulse spam, and that's not really a reliable way to deal with spiders. And the hero is definitely back in the meta enough that you don't want to risk getting cheesed by that. If there's a spider in the house, Moxie, do you burn that house down? They are going to go for yeah, pretty. Yeah, it is nice though because it rounds out their draft in terms of initiation. They had a lot of great catch potential. They had a lot of great follow-up damage with the Ice Blast as well as the Reaper Scythe, but they didn't really have a great way to start off the fights. So now you get that Blink Dagger on the Sand King. You have a really reliable way to blink, stun. You follow up with the Kunkka X marks. You follow up with the Reaper Scythe, and you're able to consistently get those pickoffs, start those team fights. Yeah, it's Etegege is right, and this is one of the interesting things about the meta is you have a hero like Necrophos around for so long. He's been plaguing teams since TI, and now it's been so long that you start to see these counters like the Zeus, like the Skywrath start to kind of show their faces again as ways to deal with these heroes. Really interesting the way that Dota can evolve like that. And also, it's just really good against the Terrorblade. It's a really good way to clear out the illusions. Static Field does a lot against Terrorblade, both in the early and even scaling into the later game because it's percentage-based damage. So Zeus actually just a pretty good pickup here overall. Good vision hero with the Nimbus as well. Yeah, so that means they're going to throw... It looks like it's going to be Mirana mid, safe lane Void, I believe. And yeah, safe lane Void. Sadoy going right out with the extra tangos. He doesn't want to deal with the Death Pulse. BZZ, well, he won't have to do... Is VCZ going offlane? Happening here? No, BZZ is going to be going mid with the Necrophos. It looks like they're going to go for an aggressive tri-lane with the Terrorblade and the Kunkka and the Ancient Apparition against Sadoy. Are you trying to make a little rhyme scheme, Moxie?
30 seconds to battle.
Yeah, it's looking to, they want to do an offlane Zeus, and they want to try and match it up against the Terrorblade, which is why you see this aggressive tri-lane coming out from Spartak. They want the Terrorblade as far away from this offlane Zeus as they can. It's going to be, like you said, the support shaker, King R, and they're trying to keep the Zeus as far away from the Terrorblade as they can.
The battle begins.
Oh, 3 runes going the side of Spartak. It's gonna be... So I was right. It's actually gonna be the offlane BZZ Necro, and it's gonna be the mid lane Terrorblade instead. And they're going to throw Sand King up top against the Zeus. It's going to be in this bottom lane. Tri-lane on tri-lane, I can almost guarantee it's going to be in this bottom lane. It's a question of who gets that first blood, I think. Yeah, it's so tough to go for those kills without Starfall just yet, because Terrorblade has such ridiculous armor. He's got 12 armor under tower. Like, you can't pressure that without magic damage, which is why they threw this matchup there, because if he was against the Zeus, much different story. Throws out the taunt, but yeah, he is going to have a tough time. Melee cores against Necrophos suffers just so much, and we already see the full wand completed for BZZ as well. With Ghost Shroud, this is like one of the most overpowered items in the game, because it's basically a cheese in the early game. Oh, okay, okay. So a little bit of harass coming out on the Terrorblade now. They're going to rotate the Skywrath over. It's for that consistent magic damage, which is, again, what you want against the Terrorblade. He's got really good armor, but he's got terrible starting health. He starts a game with like 500 health, and now that he's level 3, he's got 560. Compare that to the... Yeah, he doesn't really have a great...
Bottom tower is under attack.
Stop dead.
Yeah, it's tough, and with chilling touch and cold feet coming out, it's just so much consistent damage that, other than... Yeah, level 2 meta online, you get the one reflection for a little bit of bonus damage and some nice slow for the setup. Pretty tough for Mirana to deal with. Would deal with that once she gets X'd.
For this, I gave up immortality.
Man, you said tune into top right as there was some action going on. You must be, you got some psychic sense going on there, Moxie? Yeah, the caustic slow there is what secured that kill for Yoku, and pretty nice getting the solo kill against the Zeus. Not a matchup you see a whole lot, so can't really say which way this would be favored, but I can't imagine it being easy for Yoku to do that, and I'm a little impressed that he was able to secure that kill on the Thunder God.
Tower is under attack.
That is ours.
Unthinkable.
That is a absolutely massive stack that's going to get sinking his Blink Dagger really early. But interestingly enough, he's actually not going right for it. He's opting to go for the Hood first to help deal with the amount of magic damage that Effect have. I really like this decision from him. It just secures him some early viability. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about during the draft. If you can't burst him down to 0, it's actually kind of hard to kill the Terrorblade without... The Zeus last pick definitely helps, but without that immediate burst damage, it's really tough to kill the Terrorblade before he sunders. At least until he gets Chronosphered. Once he gets Chronosphered, it's a different story. And actually, another Hood can get picked up by Necrophos. So it looks like we might see either double Hood or potentially even later on double Pipe coming out from Spartak.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, really kind of double-edged sword, which is why they picked up as much magic damage as they did. But with this kind of start, he's 38, 9, and 13 now at 7 minutes. And it's going to be really hard for them to kill him, even with the amount of magic damage they have. He's got Wand, he's got almost a full Pipe, or almost a full Hood. And they're going to really have to make heavy rotations to kind of kill that off. Once Chronosphere and once Mystic Flare comes online for the Skywrath, maybe a different story. But until then, he just kind of gets to do whatever he wants. Yeah, they're looking for another kill onto Mags. Probably gonna, I would say they might dive deep for this one. The stun from Yoku and then a follow-up from the Kanka could be kind of scary. And by kind of scary, I mean pretty terrifying. Zeus is a squishy hero. He wants to sit back, fire off his spells, and just kind of get left alone. So when you have these gap closers like Sand King, it makes the game tough.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Double damage. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
And there's the answer to we can't burst him fast enough. Just silence him. He can't sunder if he can't cast spells.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
They really don't want Yoki getting the stack. Like, they really, really don't want that stack getting taken. He actually got most of those last hits because the fissure came out, but you don't actually get the damage from Burrow Strike until they come back down. And so the fissure came up when they were still in the air, and then they all landed. And Yoki was just like, thanks for the assist, bro.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Eh. Yeah, and the one thing I didn't actually notice about the Necrophos that's really, really annoying for this Void is he actually grabbed an Orb of Venom. It's not good for the slow if they're range. It's only a 4% slow, but that's a consistent 15 damage, magic damage. Every time you right click, that's 15 magic damage, 15 magic damage. Over the course of a laning phase, that really adds up. Throw Heartstopper on top of that, how does this Void stay in this lane and get any kind of farm? He's got 30 last hits at 10 minutes.
It was not meant.
And the amount of hoods on this team is crazy. That's one for the Necro. The Terrorblade has one as well. There's one on the Sand King. There's so many hoods on this team. Yeah.
On the rocks.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures have fallen. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
That sidestep from... That sidestep at the absolute last second was amazing. Like, you talk about jukes, that was jukes. And it's not Sadoy's fault. Like, he's just trying to get the Chronosphere out as quickly as possible, but slightly mispositions and ends up costing him the tower.
Radiant's middle tower is under
Yeah,
attack.
this is a very, very farm Sand King. I see what you did there.
On your guard, too.
And that was without Blink Dagger. Those initiations, those pickoffs are just going to come more and more frequently now. Every time Ice Blast is on cooldown, every time Ghost Ship's on cooldown, we're going to see a very similar story, whether that be on the Faceless Void, on the Mirana, whoever it might be. with Sand King Blink Dagger online this early, and so you have two supports with very low cooldown ultimates, you're going to be seeing this a lot. That's a freshly placed ward too. Like, that was such a good bait too. They were playing like, they were just like, oh man, we don't know where this sinking is. We should be scared. Meanwhile, they have eyes on him the whole time. He calls for the AA blast from base. He sits there. He's patient. Just the two? I thought it caught the three, but either way, just completely disrupted by that ward. Great play from Effect. And these are the kind of plays that they're going to have to make. Just completely disrupting the pace that Spartak's in. You know, that early game hood is just doing so much work. I mean, it's 15 minutes in. I think you can still safely say early game.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Scouting ulti from the AA, see if anybody's beside. Moonlight Shadow has been popped.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Yeah, and this is how you want to play with a Terrorblade draft, right? You have every time meta's off cooldown, you want to be pushing a tower, pressuring something, taking objectives, forcing fights. And they're doing it pretty consistently. They've got the Morbid Mask up. They're actually going to go for a Mask of Madness on the Terrorblade, which is kind of interesting in theory because they don't really have a lot of physical damage, so you don't have to worry about the minus armor. But it's also silencing yourself for 8 seconds. I suppose as long as you pop it, as long as you're careful with when you pop it, and you get your Sunder off first, it could work.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
What a hectic fight. Like,
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
yeah, BZZ just kind of farming up the bot lane, waiting very patiently for his team to call for backup, and then once the Mirana kind of lives a little bit longer than I think they were expecting, he's like, okay, I'll TP up, I'll rotate. But I think if they got that Mirana kill, he probably just happily pushes that bottom tower. But nice rotations, they secure the kill on the Earthshaker as well as the Void. And they're delaying this Earthshaker Blink Dagger. Actually, no, he does have it now. Did he have that for that last fight? I don't think so. He has it. Yeah, always a nice find on your cores, especially when Miranda decides to go the more current build of the physical damage. He's got the Yasha online already, moving into the Manta style, which would be nice against the amplified damage that they can deal out. Kind of split up those Terrorblade illusions, those ancient apparition blasts. Nice to get rid of the cold feet as well.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's top tower has fallen.
It's a tough. He's got dreams, Moxie. He's got dreams. One day he'll get his eggs. I believe in him. I believe in you, Misha. It's okay. He knows his role. You really want the Kunkka getting the items. He's going to be working towards the drums, probably an Aether Lens down the line for those those nice long range catches on the X marks. So if Misha's like, I cast my ultimate every once in a while, I'll throw out a cold feet. He's okay with his lot in life.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
Yeah, it's they don't want to go quite in because Metamorphosis is still up, but with all their ultis online, I wouldn't be surprised to see Effect go in for a follow-up kill after this. Maybe if they get greedy and head for mid lane, they go for a follow-up kill. They've got Moonlight, they've got Chrono, but they're looking actually. Can't. Yeah, Sand King making his way towards a Yule Scepter to deal with that silence, and some extra mobility is never ever going to hurt a Sand King. I'm curious to see if he goes for something like the Aghanim Scepter for some extra reach, maybe Lotus Orb to reflect some spells back. Always neat to see what Sand Kings go for, whether they go for some more long-range initiations with the Ags or some utility builds.
Radiant are scanning. Dire are scanning.
Yeah, he got the Mask of Madness, hoping for some nice cheap damage, some nice good attack speed, but without any follow-up damage items, it's really tough for him to get kills in the Chronosphere. We saw it top lane where he dropped the Chrono, he pops Mask of Madness, but just still not able to quite find that damage. Once Skywrath drops his ulti, Mirana, I think she was already running away on 10 HP at that point, so really, really tough game for the Faceless Void. Terrorblade's...
The prize is mine.
So what they'll probably do is they'll farm up either the BKB or... Yeah, they'll probably farm up the BKB on the Terrorblade and then move down for rotation. They might try and pressure now with Metamorphosis off cooldown, but I would imagine they want to wait for that BKB first. I honestly think that that's kind of worth it for Effect because they're behind, so trading 1 for 1 even though it kind of sucks. Oh. Well, never mind. Yeah, before that Zeus goes down, maybe it kind of worth it, but with the extra Zeus pick off they're able to find, game kind of evens back into Spartak's favor. And BCC is actually going to go back now for the Radiance. Normally, if you're going to see the Radiance build, you're going to see it either like first or second item. You usually get like Veil or even that hood that we saw right into the Radiance, but he opts to complete the full pipe. Oh, up top.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, and Sadoy's had to change his item build now. He had the diffusal blade. He needs the BKB to deal with all the magic damage and all the lockdown that Spartak has, but this is going to delay his damage even more now. Like, they need damage to pump into that Chronosphere, and basically what they're going to have to do every time is what we saw mid lane on the Terror Blade, you know, drop Mystic Flare, drop Echo Slam I think was used, Zeus ulti, everything you can throw into that Chronosphere, you're going to have to, because Void isn't going to have the damage anytime soon.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Haste.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
They're pinging out like they want to.
Dire's top tower.
They're definitely thinking about it. Scouting vision. No. Yeah, and Mirana thought about TPing down, immediately canceled her TP. She was like, oh, I'm going to TP to the Shrine. You know what? I see a Kunkka there. I'm not going to do that. Now, the one thing to notice is... Actually, we're going to hold on that. Are they going? No. Okay. The one thing that is going to notice, it's not a massive net worth differential. It's about 4K, but a lot of that gold net worth comes just from tower gold, right? If you look at the towers on Spartak, they've got still their bottom tier 1.
We all owe a life.
That's a win. That's a hard win for Effect. Just sees it at the last second. So despite this being a really sad Faceless Void with the farm, that was a really good fight for Effect. They traded like 2 for I think 3. The Terrorblade was forced to use his 10-second BKB without getting any kills or any objectives. They forced meta, and they did have to use a lot of ultimates, but that was like a 1500 net worth swing in the favor of Effect. That was a really good trade for them. Despite the fact that Sadoy has not really been able to farm and get some nice big items. Yeah, if they're able to keep trades like that for him, he could kind of move into that like offlane kind of position, right? You pretend in your head that you had a mid lane Zeus and a safe lane Mirana, and it becomes the offlane Void. It sucks for Sadoy, but for his team, it's actually not too bad, because that still means that they're getting what they need out of the Void, which is those Chronospheres, those initiations. And they're still getting the damage. They're still scaling okay. And if they can keep trades like that up, like I was going to say before, if they can start taking those towers, we might see that 3K net worth advantage swing back in the favor of Effect. And even if you look at net worth, like the lowest at
I've seen this in my dreams.
man, they are bullying him as hard as they can. And he just finished the BKB. He doesn't have buyback. He just finished BKB.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower is under
It's still got about half duration. Yeah, if you walk far enough away, then the illusions will. That's another BKB charge used on the Terrorblade, and as this gets lower and lower, this Zeus is going to hurt more and more. That 10-second BKB we saw was having to use very defensively, you know, just to keep him alive. 9-second BKB now, not able to really take another objective with that. They got a little bit of chip damage, or a fair bit of chip damage actually on the tier 3. It's about half HP, but immediate smoke up from effect. We could see them punish this. Ice Blast still on cooldown for 20 seconds. They've got pretty much... Yeah, they really wanted to take that before Sand King came back online, because that's their initiation into the pit, right? Blink, Epicenter, Burrow Strike, all that good stuff. But now they're going to just move into what looks like either a tier 2 or hopefully a pickoff for them.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire are scanning.
You wish I never stooped to
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's top tower is Radiant's top barracks is under attack. Radiant's top barracks has fallen.
Yeah, while you were...
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Still, her face
You become feast for the flesh flies.
That's probably a roast chicken, I'd say. Based on his taunt, which is probably one of the most obnoxious taunts in the game, I'm gonna say roast chicken. But yeah, while you were watching that team fight mid, I was watching the action on top, and basically the Terrorblade just kind of walked up, started sieging. Zeus threw out some spells, and then he's like, "Oh, that's right, I've just got a BKB." BKBs, takes the racks, Earthshaker TPs back, and Echo Slams, whole 9 yards, and even right before Terrorblade dies, is able to kill off the Earthshaker. The only reason he died there was just because the Zeus was able to live. And even he almost killed the Zeus, so really nice rat play coming out from Spartak. while that fight going on in the Roche pit happens.
Coin for me.
So this, I mean, it would have been really good, but this is a team I noticed that really likes doing things in threes. They had 3 hoods. One of them is now a pipe, and then now they've got. Oh, does he live? He does live. You did. Yeah, that was a tanky Sand King, and like just so mobile. Like he almost lived there too. He had 1 second left on Sandstorm, and I think he lives if he gets that off. But then time dilation came out and delayed the cooldown, so he does end up dying. But that was a really good fight for effect. Like,
Oh, that would be a tribute.
yeah, no, it's great for Spartak that he lives as long as he does, but it's really good for effect that they got like a complete team wipe. And that solo Corona on the Terror Blade was absolutely key. So Doi is showing, you know what? I might have had a rough game, but now it's my turn to dish out some punishment. I mean, the Mirana's 11-2. She might have had a rougher early game for sure, but she has recovered very well with that Diffusal Blade with the Manta.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom shrine is under attack. Dire are scanning.
Double smoke.
I face the darkness.
Shadows, take us. Our thanks.
I use my powers wisely. Take that as you
Man, what chaotic fights.
My death means nothing.
They did not want the they're coming out there. But man, these,
Radiant's top barracks is falling.
I mean, it sucks because you lose the range racks, so that's a full lane down now, but losing the melee, it's almost inevitable that that's going to happen. The lane's constantly going to be pushing into you. Any protracted fight, that's going to happen. So it's really unfortunate, but because range racks don't regen, it's kind of one of those things that's not a question of if, but when that happens. But effect in these last few team fights have been absolutely impressive. Just the fact that they can play like this from behind, and they're closing that net worth gap. It was almost like a 5k net worth lead at one point. It's closing in now on 1k, and those towers are still up. That tower gold, that tower advantage that Spartak has is gonna swing back really quickly once Effect can start pushing. It's really funny to me that Sadoy has just like resigned himself to being the initiator. He's got the Blink Dagger, BKB, Mask of Madness, like you said earlier, kind of like that offlane Void build. But it's working out for them, and it's really unfortunate when you have that position 1 that has to kind of build like this. But you adapt. This is Dota. You got to adapt, and he's adapted really well.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
But now with that tower going down, it swings back. And now they don't have Sinking, they don't have Kunkka, they don't have their good team fight. Terrorblade's on the other side of the map, just farming Ancients.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
Well, not only that, but even without Chronosphere, you look at who they picked off with the Chronosphere, it's Yoki. It's their initiator. It's the guy who starts the fights for Spartak. How do you start a fight as Spartak without Yoki? Do you just run up at someone and X marks them? They just run away. You can't Reapers them. The best you got for mobility is a Force Staff. So without Yoki, they can't start team fights. And now that net worth lead is actually in favor of Effect. Yeah, he's got the Solar Crest queued up now. Pretty interesting for a Skywrath mage, but you know what? Honestly, not a bad pick. It's nice armor, it's nice evasion against the Terrorblade, and it's another wave to enable the Void, who's had that rough game, right? You throw Solar Crest on somebody, it's more damage now for your Void in that Chronosphere. So I like this. I like the teamwork and the camaraderie coming out from Effect. Saying, you know what, Yoki, or sorry, not Yoki. You know what, Sadoy? It's okay. We know you've had a rough game. You're building an Ags now because you just need to pump out Chronospheres. We're going to help you out. That's it. And this is a build that I haven't seen in a really long time, but I actually really like this build. The Ags, Blink Dagger, the Void. We saw Blink Dagger fall off a lot because of the Time Walk cast range talent at level 25. But I actually really like this build. Because you just, the one big downside to Chronosphere is the fact that it's on a like almost 2-minute long cooldown. You take Ags, all of a sudden, you can pretty much fight all the time.
Radiant's bottom shrine is under attack.
They've got a ward on the high ground. I think this was a bait play.
Dire are scanning.
I almost wonder if it was a bait play. Like they're gonna go. Okay, they put the sentry down. If they didn't put the sentry down, I would have said that was like a nice bait play where they like make it look like they're going into Roche and then they go for the pick off, kind of baiting the response. But the nice sentry ward does that plan is kaput.
Radiant's bottom shrine is under attack. Radiant's bottom shrine has fallen.
Invisibility.
Yeah, I'm curious too. Looking at Terrorblade's items, he's got the butterfly queued up, and I'm wondering why he doesn't go for something like the Scotty. Sometimes you see Terrorblades go heart against heavy magic lineups. You do have a lot of right click coming out from the Mirana. She's actually got the MKB queued up, already kind of predicting this maneuver, and I'm just a little curious as to his reasoning behind going something more evasion heavy and a little bit less stats focused. Nice. Yeah, and that's a godlike streak too, so that's a nice. They're gonna force the buyback here. You can't let a Terrorblade hit your buildings for free.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen. Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, Yeah, you forced out the buyback on the Mirana. Afro Ninja's got the triple arrow. It's so. Yeah. Yeah, if they want to fight this, they pretty much have to. Yep, there's the buyback. Man, they're just finding pickoffs one by one. And now you've balanced out the buybacks in a way because we're... Oh, they're actually going to buy back on... I don't know why. Yeah, I was like, I don't know why you're talking like these fights are done. They're still chasing, but now BC's gonna make it out. That was like, Effect is doing such a good job controlling Spartak in these team fights. Just, you know, bringing who they want up here, dragging the rest of the team down through the river. Like, really, really nice team management there. They throw out a, I think that was a scouting Zeus ulti. I don't think that was anything more than that, but just like really good work there. And the Terrorblade was able to snake up the cheese, so he does have that. But you got Aegis Mirana now, buybacks on cooldown for 2 of your heroes, I believe. Yeah, so 2. I mean, those are two pretty good heroes to have buyback on, to be fair. Necrophos and Terrorblade. But Eggs is complete now for the Void, so every minute he's going to have himself a Chronosphere. And now he's got dreams. He's got dreams of a Diffusal Blade, Moxie. Yep. Yep. Purge. Yeah. The interesting thing about that. The interesting thing about Spartak. Remember, I was mentioning earlier they had 2 hoods and a pipe, and earlier they had just 3 hoods. If you look at Kunkka, Necrophos, and Sand King, they've got 3 Lotus Orbs on the side of Spartak. They love tripling up on their items. Yeah. Down bottom. Down bottom.
Radiant structures are fortified. Another put down.
Yeah, they've kind of dedicated their Terrorblade to this kind of rat playstyle, and it's really costing them in these team fights. And I can't really blame them either, because every time he shows up in a team fight, he just gets Chronosphered. But now they're trying to get him to play like this kind of rat game, and Terrorblade, not a super mobile hero like Anti-Mage or Morphling. You know, doesn't have a free get out of jail free card like Nature's Prophet can. So these rat games are very dangerous for him, and it's costing.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified. Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower has fallen. Dire's middle barracks are under attack.
I mean, if you just look at the... this, the gold graph, it really tells the story of this game. For the most part, Spartak's really far ahead. They take that Rax's really deep dive in the net worth in their favor. But now, slowly, these team fights have been adding up.
Trespasser.
Coin of the realm.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Dire's top shrine is under attack. Dire's top shrine has fallen. Radiant's top shrine is under attack.
Haste.
Dire are scanning.
Monster kill.
Radiant's top shrine is under attack. Radiant are scanning. Radiant's top shrine has fallen.
And this is kind of that problem of the early BKB on Terrorblade too, is that he picked it up so early in the game. It's down to 5 seconds now, and we saw even down bottom, it runs out just so quickly, and he has to rely on Sunder, but now they've got Lincoln Spheres. It's really, really tough for this Terrorblade to get it done.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Down bottom. Down bottom.
Radiant's bottom
I mean, he gets the racks. It's not great that he dies, but he does get the racks. He does force a lot of TPs down bottom. The question now is... she's got a Scotty ready, like, in her... GG call. They don't. They know they can't deal with this right-click Mirana.